Good morning. This is Karl F. Rose recording from Bedford, Pennsylvania on Wednesday, um, uh, January 29th. Yeah, I believe it's the 29th, um, 2020. Anyway, this morning we're going to talk about cat health, and I want to contrast the difference between wet cat food and dry cat food. Personally, I give my cat a little bit of both. I feed him some wet in the morning and make sure he eats it all up first, and then throughout the day he eats his dry. Then in the evening, I give him some wet food and make sure that he eats it all up. I like to have the combination of wet and dry. In addition, for as far as his dental health goes, I'm lucky that he does like the dental treats, and I discussed that with my vet, and he loved it. He says that's great. He says if you can get your cat to eat dry dental treats, he says that's fantastic. Anyway, well, let's get into the differences here. What I'm looking at here is you can go into. I'll put a link in here, on my YouTube description. Oh, if you like these kind of cat health videos and you're watching this on my Anchor podcast, be sure to subscribe. And I also place this on my YouTube podcast channel. Be sure to subscribe to Karl's Corner podcast on my YouTube channel. Hit the bell notification, the subscribe button and the bell notification. That way you'll be notified of all podcasts and that sort of thing. So anyway, what we're looking at, and again, I'm getting this from WebMD under the pet section, and it's very helpful. I go into this all the time. Anyway, canned versus dry cat food, which one is better? Well, personally, I think, like I just said, I think a combination of both is best. But it says the experts haven't reached a complete consensus, but most agree on some of the pros and cons of dry and wet adult cat food. Let's start off with the adult cat food. Dry adult cat food. It's more economical. It's convenient because you can leave it out and it doesn't spoil as easy. And that's why, as far as spoiling, that's why I want to make sure if it's sitting there yucky, I get rid of the plate. He knows anyway, because he flips the plate over. He starts pawing at it and flips the plate once the wet food gets yucky. So I got a pretty smart cat. It's energy dense, meaning a cat can consume lots of calories quickly, has about 10% moisture content, tends to have more carbohydrates and less protein than wet food, may only be slightly better than canned wet food at preventing dental disease. That's why I discussed the dental treats, and I went over that with my vet. His teeth, his last exam, his annual exam, his teeth were good. The year prior, he had some plaque, and so I took care of it in between the year and this last annual visit. It looks like we took care of the tartar problem, so I'm working on that. Anyway, now let's go to the canned adult cat food. It's more expensive. It spoils easily, and it requires refrigeration after opening. Well, he likes to eat most of it. I only give him the small cans of fancy feast stuff. I mean, if you're have multiple cats and you're opening a big giant can, then yes, put out a little bit, enough for them to eat, and then just cover it with foil, put it in the refrigerator. Otherwise it's going to spoil. And then if they eat spoiled food, then they're going to get sick and vomit, and you don't want all that kind of stuff. And then it's less energy dense than dry food, has up to 78% moisture content, tends to have more fat and protein, especially animal protein, and fewer carbohydrates than dry food. Now it goes on. I'm not going to read all this word for word, but it says there's a lot of people who believe that cats only need to eat canned food and will be unhealthy if they eat dry food. noting that most cats do fine on either. I like the combination of both because even though the dry food doesn't really help the dental stuff that much, it does clean his teeth some. I like a full balance. It's like everything else. Consider your cat's diet like your own diet. You need a little bit, and then with the flavors, the variety, and that sort of thing. I'm throwing this in from my own personal experience. Then the article goes, the bottom line, more research is needed to determine whether wet food is better. But the moisture content, wet food can be beneficial to cats with urinary tract problems, diabetes, or kidney disease. It can help compensate for the cat's low thirst drive, which may be partly due to their evolution. And then higher protein levels are more often found in wet food may be a benefit to strict carnivores who depend on consuming animals. But you can have a high protein diet that's still essential in amino acids. When and how much... Okay, and then it goes on and on. But basically, what I want to get, my point is that try and get, if at all possible, to get your cat to eat a little bit of wet and a little bit of dry. I got my cat, he's going to be 7 this year, but I got him when he was about 5 months old, and it took a while. He was always leaning towards wet when I first got him, and hardly ate dry, probably because as his teeth were when he was so young, because his teeth growing in and all that. But now he it's a flip flop. So like the article said, I give him the wet in the morning, and then I give him wet again in the evening, and then he munches on the dry in between, and that seems to be that works out good for me. But anyway, I hope this helped. And again, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, be sure to go to the cards at either end of the screen, either right or left. I have cards there. And also, I have descriptions in the playlist. Go down in the description and check on all that because I got food and health playlist in there. So we will talk to you next time.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.